current statement and issues around disputes on election, the cost of living, and many other issues that we are trying to resolve as a country. So this position of civil society presented by representative group. There are so many other people who have been part of this process, but this representative group will be issuing this statement on behalf of the civil society sector. So as we begin, we will have the statement being read, and then later on we'll have a session to ask questions from the members of the state. So I want to invite Annette and a colleague to lead us in reading the statement.
Thank you, Cornelius. So this is a joint civil society press statement on the state of the nation. The statement is titled, Kenya Belongs to the People, Reclaiming Our Sovereign Power. Dear Kenyans, as a country, we are in a political standoff, facing yet another round of political contestation. Sorry about that. So, dear Kenyans, as a country, we are in a political standoff, facing yet another round of political contestation, which threatens our democratic and constitutional order. The stalemate has been largely driven by the political class. The people of Kenya, who have been granted the sovereign power under Article 1 of the Constitution, are being excluded and are hardly involved in key decision-making processes that impact on their lives. As civil society, this concerns us. Dear Kenyans, in 2010, we promulgated a people's constitution that vested sovereign power in we the people, and yet we are still beholden to our political leaders as subject of the colonial rulers and to their imperial lords. Our leaders have violated many aspects of the Constitution while we watch on helplessly, forgetting that the power rests with us. Our political leaders have particularly betrayed Kenyans' quest for sustainable solution to the ongoing food crisis, cost of living, and access to public services, such as quality education, water, housing, and health, contrary to Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya. They have destroyed the economy and failed to use their mandate to fix those parts that need fixing, and consequently making life unbearable for the majority of Kenyans. They have overborrowed, misspent, mismanaged, and stolen the proceeds of imprudent and expensive loans, leaving Kenyans with an unsustainable debt burden. They have also instituted heavy tax payments by living opulent lifestyles and loading up the public wage bill with political cronies, while political allies evade.
I'll continue from where my colleague has left. Our leaders have also partaken in the plunder, while basic services such as health, education, agriculture flounder due to corruption and mismanagement, by government officials at all levels. Our leaders have office, indeed unconstitutional offices, to reward their political crony. They have orchestrated deliberate state capture of independent institutions, namely the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, that's the ODPP, the National Police Service, the Office of the Controller of Budget, among others, to serve partisan political interests. They have continued to weaken and interfere with governance of elections and political conduct against the spirit of the Constitution, manifested through infiltration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and and other institutions with related mandate on elections. our leaders continue to undermine and erode devolution through deliberate delay and underfunding of counties, failure to release devolved functions, and abetting an accountability of county governments. In view of the foregoing, we hold that political leaders have unfortunately and repeatedly hijacked opportunities to address the above issues and converted them into bipartisan processes between political elite and end up with minimalist, compromised, and non-transformative reforms that only serve their selfish political interest.
Thank you very much. The following are our demands. Our first demand is that we demand that the bipartisan parliamentary talks be restructured and expanded to make it an all-inclusive, independent, and citizen-led dialogue process to discuss the immediate electoral issues and cost of living crisis and address a wider previously envisioned. The third demand is that the above can be modeled along the National Constitutional Conference, commonly known as the Bomas process, which brought together legislators, district delegates, and all key actors as equal players to discuss and adopt the draft constitution between the year 2003, that is in April, and March 2004. With or without the constitution of the above framework that we proposed and demanded, we therefore, as civil society, commit that we shall reach out to all civic groups and other progressive forces to institute an authentic citizen agenda and process for the salvation of our country through the collective action of the people as provided in the Constitution of Kenya. This include religious institutions, trade unions, professional bodies, business groups, and the media, who form the cog that needs to anchor this conversation. We also commit that we will engage political leaders, regional actors, the international community to work closely in pushing the Kenya recovery agenda, including Agenda 4 item in the Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation process in the year 2008. The third one is that we commit as civil society organizations to institute a value-based, rights-driven, and citizen-led process of economic and democratic justice to address those who have committed crimes against the people of Kenya. It is for this reason that we are advocating for the adoption and the implementation of the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission report, among other reports on historical injustices in Kenya. And there are undersigned institutions that we shall issue you with, that you shall be able to see once you get the printed version of the statement. I think we will open it up for questions and engagements, and colleagues who are seated and those who are behind us will be able to respond appropriately. Thank you.
So we will take questions.
A few more. Yes, brother.
My name is Wamalo from West TV. Doctor of the DPP, also of the DPP, the Auditor General, and the police. So maybe what is from where you sit, what is your message to Kenyans as far as how to change this thing? Because if the state has captured those institutions and more, how do Kenyans expect to get justice? And then secondly, now that the process, especially from the Kenya Kwanza side, they are continuing, despite the Azimio saying that they have not been engaged. They are going on with their plans about the talks. So from the civil society, what should be done? Should the process in parliament be stopped? Or what are you going to do to ensure that it doesn't continue, minus the expansion to include other people, the citizens and other groups?
Maybe respond to some of these issues.
About which has a vision where, according to Article 1, Kenyans are supposed to be the ones determining the destiny of the country, and everything is supposed to be done. It now took up that kind of depressive and oppressive political system. And that's why we are saying then, because of that kind of a system, even despite having a very progressive constitution, we are seeing all these governance problems which are yet to be unresolved, and then it's not the people of Kenya who are suffering in that context. So our call is for Kenyans to raise up and start exercising this authority. Because if you read Article 1, this mandate can be exercised directly, or it can be exercised through delegated authority. Because the delegated authority, as we have explained, has completely failed. So this is not the time for people now who are just exercising power delegated to them. And that's why we are saying we are going to go back to mobilizing and organizing people to raise up and hold these political leaders accountable across the political divide. We are very clear. In this context, it is the entire political class which has been committing this kind of social, economic, and political injustice in the country. So when they meet and they start now telling us at who this one is liable for this, we are very clear. This has been a common political problem. And therefore, it does not have to happen this way they are proposing. And the reason we are saying this is now the 6th time we have seen opportunities for addressing these issues transformatively, because they are the cause of the problem they meet, then come up with very compromised and very minimal reforms, actually most of which address their in 1997. When Yash Palgai was appointed to chair the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, he found another people's process called the Ufungamano Initiative, and also bring other key stakeholders on board. So what Kina Baba are proposing is also not very different. So I think we have also to be very clear on that, because Kina Baba are proposing a parliamentary process, but outside parliament, actually political approach by politicians, but who are not going to be necessarily sitting in parliament. So at the end of the day, whether they are sitting in parliament or they are sitting in Palasina, it is still elite. That's why we are calling for restructuring and opening that process, so that even the issues being addressed, and you have seen like we have 10 issues, which are very critical, which need to be addressed. Expand the levels of the discussion, because now they have also made this also a national level problem. So what we are saying is, if this discussion also have to happen at all levels, and then finally we are saying whether even this opening is done or not, because even opening up does not even give us the right of politics we are talking about. We will still go to the people and therefore create other mechanisms of also engaging on the issues which touch on them. So these other institutions which are also captured, some of them we are also going to go to court and also push for accountability, but we also know courts are also captured. But more and more we are going to be having people to be more organized, so that now they can be the ones taking on these institutions. Because remember, these institutions have also been appointed to act on their behalf. So basically to where it belongs. So once we do that, we'll be able to therefore change the levers of power, so that now whoever is given mandate to lead in any level of government of public interest, and you are serving the members of the society. So us, we want to invest a lot into the people, so that now moving forward, that of public who have us, because we want this space secured for the people of Kenya.
Kenya atauliza mlikuwa wapi kuanza hii shughuli, na ngojea Azimio wamepresha serikali na mnatokea, mlikuwa wapi?
We have been over time. We have been raising questions about how the country is being run over time. So this is not the first time we are coming into this space. as civil society and also as independent actors, if you have been watching the space for the last even 10 years. So we are coming in also in this context because also this process even requires accountability. There is no one who has also monopoly of determining how the country is run. If it's not going as per the constitution of Kenya, even you guys in the media, you also have a duty to stand and defend the constitution. So I think it's also a collective call for action. When also certain things are also not happening very well, you come in and intervene. But as a sector, we have been working with the people on so many things. The sector has also been going to court on even some of these. You have seen the 10 issues we have raised. We have gone to court actually to challenge also the conduct of government officials on most of those things. If you go back even to this issue we have raised about capture of IBC, last year civil society filed like more than 10 cases in court to push for IBC to be more accountable. So these conversations have been there. Only that now, the way they happen right now, they are more twisted to benefit the interests of the political elite.
Alafu mambo yenu asipochukulia maanani, mtafanya nini kando na kwenda kotini? Mtafanya nini?
Tumesema tutaorganize wananchi wajitokeze, wasimame, walinde haki zao na walinde demokrasia yao, kwa sababu hiyo ndio ile majukumu wamepatiwa katika kipengele cha kwanza cha katiba la Kenya. So sisi tutafanya kazi na wananchi ili ile nguvu yao wamepatiwa na katiba irudi, and also they also become now more conscious and also more involved in what is happening in the country, because I think we also tend to leave most of these kind of issues and the processes also to the political elite, who, as we have said, they don't serve the interests of the country.
Ukisema mobilize wananchi, I'm just trying to imagine, is it, are you taking them to peaceful demonstrations, or what are they going to do when you mobilize them? Or going to court?
So, what I declare very clear, agree from that point of view. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to be mobilizing and organizing people from the ground to hold the political class to account and also be able to respond. You know, like some of the issues we are even talking about, those are issues people should be able to take up even at local level. For example, when IBC does not provide them the right electoral process, whose duty is it to hold the IBC to account? It's the people of Kenya. So what happens, I think we have a situation whereby now the people are so divided and sometimes confused, so that now they are not able to rise to the occasion. So we are going to be doing what we call political mobilization, political engagement, and also political education to ensure that they recapture, because they are the ones who are supposed to recapture the power. Have never been given that chance. And of course, public action and Article 27 is also part of what we are going to be exploring. Actually, we are thinking of now, because now we also want to go political work. We want to explore tano tano, sita sita, saba saba, remember saba saba? Yeah, tisa tisa, kumi kumi, all those kind of things. So that now we also use those political days to. And of course, now this stops us now from going to court and also exploring other anti-progress processes. But we want the people of Kenya to be put at the center of every conversation and also be put at the center. So it's not just about this process, but also all the issues we are going to be working on. Actually, it's also a decision we have also made as a sector that every step we are going to be making, it has to involve the people of Kenya.
My two final ones. You decried the overborrowing. So what is your take on the overborrowing? Because from one side of the mouth we are told we are not borrowing, on the other side we are told. In fact, today I've just read somewhere they are considering, the government is considering going for another Eurobond. And then secondly, on the unconstitutional offices, what is your take as the civil societies? Because the court blocked the CAS, but we have reports that they are already in office and they are going on with it. Some of them have started working.
So, because we are a movement of civic actors, I would refer this to my team to take up.
Okay, as we get that extra question so that they are addressed once and for all.
I just wanted to know
with the timeline, you said you might actually end up in court to compare the government with both the public and the Pakistan talk. So there are timelines. When are we expecting you in court?
So, I think from our planning, we want to make this a long-term process for the next 4 years. So that also by the time we are going to elections, also we have a different political culture in the way we do our political business. Going to court, we are saying is part of the strategies around the 10 issues we have raised. Actually, we have raised 10 issues about governance of the country. Some of the matters we are already in court around. But in terms of the bipartisan talks, I think if you have followed the conversation, we are very clear. First, we want politically the process to be opened up. So first is a political strategy, pushing for the process to be opened up because of the previous negative experience we have talked about. So if that happens or not, we are saying we are also going to have people's forums and also people process where all those other things are going to be canvassed. In the event we find that there's also some illegal and constitutional conduct of this other process of bipartisan talks, we'll have also a chance to go to court to challenge some of those. So we'll go to court depending on the issues which are emerging. So right now we have not been able to determine on that side what are the issues, because already we are pushing for the political opening of the process, but we are also pushing for a people's process. So as we are very clear from the beginning, we want people to be involved, whether it is in the official process or it is in the other process we are talking about. But court action comes depending on the kind of violations which are determined along the way. So we'll be watching the space and then intervening using different strategies accordingly. But for other questions, I want to defer to my movement members. We are a big team here.
There are two issues, the public debt and the CIS.
6 months, we have seen dropping of over 10 cases of high-profile individuals or their families or even their relatives. That is questionable because the ODPP has a mandate to independently make a decision on whether to proceed with the cases or not. So what this does, it definitely tells us that in terms of performance, it points to non-competence, which is against the Constitution. And with regards to the demonstrations, again, 10 days after high-profile individuals and also demonstrators were arrested, we saw him dropping cases against them after we heard from the two political sides of the bipartisan talks. Again, that also points to a questionable integrity and also lack of independence, because why would he, if at all he was charging them on grounds of crime, why would he again drop the cases once the political class have agreed to have a conversation? It means that the office is captured to us. That means that the office is captured, and he should have stepped aside like yesterday. And so we are pointing to that also with the National Police Service as well. We have seen directives being given by the top leadership of the NPS, and this led to excess use of force by the police. We saw in worst case scenarios Kenyans lose their lives during demonstration, which is provided for in law under Article 37 of the Constitution. And so we are saying that these independent institutions are captured by the political elite and calling them out to be able to conform to the Constitution even in their, as they continue discharging their duties. Regarding the CAS, I know, we all know, again, there's an active case in court regarding the CAS appointments, and it's really unfortunate that the court orders are being disobeyed by the political elite in allowing the CAS individuals that were appointed in these positions to continue being in office. And to Kenyans, I think what we are trying to say here is that the more these unconstitutional positions and offices are created, what it does is it balloons the wage bill. And at the end of the day, what we are going to see is that there'll be high taxation. The burden of taxation largely is on Kenyans who at the end of the day continue to languish in poverty, continue to go to bed hungry, yet we are there sustaining their lifestyles. With a lot of double speak when it comes to money. And at this particular paid Kenyans of essential services, the service delivery is halted. Right now what we are seeing is most of the resources, most of the revenues are going to recurrent budgets, depriving services like health, like education. I know when you talk about education in this country, the JCC, the junior secondary school, that's a crisis in itself. Why are we seeing crisis from an economic angle? It's because, again, of the bad political decisions by this country in terms of matters public debt. Because again, when it comes to matters, that's what I would add. I would call upon any of my colleagues if they have something to add.
Yes, are there any additional questions before we can close? Yes, ma'am.
From Kenya Radio, I had a question. You said the government is overspending, overborrowing, which it has made the government to be on a tight space actually right now, and they are unable to pay the civil servants. As we're speaking right now, the doctors are on a strike. So what is your take about the strike? Should the strike continue? Should they stop the strike and look for other means to solve the problem? What should they do?
Okay, thanks. And again, it's important to note that when we talk about wasteful expenditure by the government, let's not say that is happening under the Kenya Kwanza regime. This has been happening over the years, even with the Jubilee administration. We saw the wasteful expenditure, misplaced priorities as well, which has put us where we are as a country. So it's not only a 6 or 7 month situation. So what we are saying, and for the doctors and the nurses, I mean, picketing, that is one of the ways you can be able to express your grievances. That is provided for in the law. And so they are in the right space, and they are provided for by the law to be able to express their grievance, which is delayed payment of their salaries by the government. So they are allowed by the law to be able to picket, to be able to demonstrate, so that they can express their dissatisfaction.
I would also want to add that I'd also want to add, as civil society on the debt issue, that we are also calling and demanding for contracts. We all know that it is done by two people, the government who has been sent as a representative and the other government. So when it comes to the constitutional thresholds for the PFM, you know, the Public Finance Management Act, we want to understand how that one works, and we want to also create a plan of how to repay. We are calling and demanding that the government needs to put out clearly the plan that they have to repay all the debt that they procure on behalf, when they say on behalf of Kenyans. We want to understand how are they planning that there is pure public. But then if the one that is responsible to manage comes on ground, we are saying is that we are calling on Kenyans who have the sovereign power to have that understanding. We don't want people to come and tell us, or the political elite and the people that we've given the opportunity to speak on our behalf, to come and tell us that the debt ceiling is that we are raising it to 10 trillion for what? We want to understand why is it being raised? Why are we at where we are at this point in time? So we are also calling out on the debt ceiling issue, and we want to understand exactly what that means from a very simple language that each and every Kenyan who has, we are all shareholders in this country. We want to understand what is exactly that means. So the last thing that someone had mentioned about Eurobonds, we are saying that the Eurobonds are valid ways of raising revenue. That one we are not disputing as society and as people who generate evidence. That one we are not disputing. What we are disputing here is when that Eurobond is raised, how is it used? Because we have seen corruption cases coming out of the borrowing of the Eurobond. We have seen that there is decline of confidence of the people because of every time we borrow a Eurobond and it comes to the country, there is a committee that is formed to establish what exactly the Eurobond money was used for. So what we are saying is that the Eurobond is not bad because we everybody, even us here seated and in the fourth estate, we all have borrowed somewhere to money to do something. But then when it comes here, the next step, it has become a common occurrence. Every time you have a Eurobond, what follows is a committee to establish and to understand exactly what happened, how did we use that Eurobond. So we as civil societies are also questioning and saying that, yes, borrow, but we want transparent and accountable process whenever it comes to this borrowing or whenever it comes to using money that is meant for the public. And lastly, we are saying that the government should invest and in the borrowing and reduce commercial loans. We also know that we've had that situation of, everybody understands right now that we've had that talk of budgeted corruption. So the money that is coming on board is for commercial loans, bringing money for, say, infrastructure development and other things that the government masquerades to do. But then when the monies come on board and the budget is given, there is that person who had the opportunity to write to request and write the budget, goes and inflames that budget to a place where whatever it was meant for is not what it is used for. So what we are saying right now, budgeted corruption should remain as a term and not something that is happening in this country. So as civil society, as what we have said, that we are going to mobilize people by empowering them with this information. And that information cannot just come from us. It needs to come from the government by accessing that information to us. Because I know there is an article in the Article 43 or 35 where access to information is 35. Article 35 of the Constitution says that access to information should be available to all Kenyans. And since we are part of this Kenya, we are demanding for all these to be put transparent and so that now we can also hold them into account. And lastly, we are saying that whenever someone is elected and appointed to run a public office, it is not an opportunity for them to go and steal. Wherever we work, we do not work with an aim of, I'm working because someone else is seeing what I'm doing. Whenever they're given that opportunity to go and work, we are saying it is not an opportunity for them to go and steal. It is an opportunity for them to go and work for Kenyans. So we are not going to relent. We're not going to let them waste money anymore. As the predecessors who have spoken before us have said, we as civil societies have been there, but right now we are going to take a step further and ensure that Kenyans can be able to raise their voice whenever something is happening, not only nationally, but also in county levels. So as civil societies, those are the things that we are endeavoring to do.
I have a question. You're actually talking about the state of governance of where you represent the Western African citizen witness. So, state of governance, is this actually backed by a survey? Did you conduct a survey to actually seek Kenyans' view on how governance is working? And the state of undisclosed debt, the debt is in the public domain, and then there's undisclosed types of debt which we normally borrow. I don't know if civil society will seek to know the amount of undisclosed debt has been taken over the years, and how to your statement on this?
That is, as much as we are what I'd say that amongst our civil society, we have said that it is a step that we're taking towards ensuring that each and every citizen is included in this governance issue. So when it comes to that, we are still trying to work around the people. At the end of the day, it is not us who have the mandate to ensure that this money is disclosed, because there are those people who work in that office. However, civil society, what you're going to do and what we're planning to do and what we've been doing is to call upon these officers that are in charge on these debt issues to ensure that they carry out this work transparently and in an accountable way. It is not an easy journey, but it is a journey that is has an end. It is a journey that is possible. So we as civil societies are still pushing towards ensuring that there is that disclosure of the debt that is out there, and that disclosure does not only come to civil society but also goes to the people, because at this point we are working for the people, and we know that it is for the people that needs that kind of information. So we are still working hand in hand, because we cannot say that we're only working by ourselves. We're working also with the government, ensuring that those contracts and that disclosure is meant for the people and it is done for the people.
And survey, did you actually